You know, I never thought I would be thankful to have it back at 30 degrees, but this negative shit, thank God, it's over for now. So, it's your favorite blue man on a mission, aka that duelist that's afraid to leave his house because it's too damn cold outside. So, I was going to do a formal discussion on this, but I feel like talking about it with my drive to get dinner here. So, why does the community like to rag on Upstart Goblin as the 41st card in every deck? There's an application to this madness, and I'm not going to say that people are too fucking stupid to realize it, but it's apparent that they don't understand. So, and before everybody's like, oh my god, Robbie just called me stupid because I don't understand why Upstart... Okay, so Upstart, as a 41st card, a lot of people look at it as a card to side deck. Now, this mentality goes even greater into the logic of 40 cards, but I understand the logic of it at 41 as well. Typically, when you're creating a deck of Yu-Gi-Oh!, if you are including Upstart Goblin as your 40th card, typically that Upstart Goblin is going to be a card that you will side out almost every game into another card. It is acting as, in game one, it's acting as a chance to net yourself into one for the resource, aka deck thinning. A lot of people in 41 will be like, well, you know, you could just go down to 40. That's understandable. But post side decking, it is acting as one of your 15 side cards. Now, that's a really weird mentality to come up with, but most people use it as a filler card and as a guaranteed side deck out. And a lot of people will often find that, you know, they would rather have 41 to include those 40 cards, but if they're side decking, they would rather have 41. It's definitely not that hard of a mentality to understand because it comes down to number crunching and your resource pool available to you. And as a competitive player, this mentality was something that, like, it's not that hard to grasp once you start getting the probability and statistics, you know, going through and crunching your numbers for a 10-round tournament. How many times am I going to, you know, actually see this hand? You know, the amount of time in playtesting that people actually put into this game to actually appropriately playtest, let's be real here. You're not going to sit there and draw, you know, 1,000 hands to get you an appropriate statistical table, or, you know, play 100 games, 100 matches, and things like that. There are people out there, however, that will do this. Trust me on this. You know, I had a friend of mine that was going to nationals one year in his playtesting. Fucking 1,000 matches of Yu-Gi-Oh! A month up until that point. Had a broken down statistical table and everything. Now, we're not to say that that Upstart Goblin technique was implied there, but if you're going into a 10-round tournament, you're playing 41 cards, you're like, fuck it, you know, we're going to put an Upstart, that way post side decking for games 2 and 3. I really like the other 40 cards in my deck, but I want to board this card in particularly. You know, Upstart as always and always will act as that other card that we wish we had. It's kind of like, it's what makes Upstart Goblin so good as a card, and there's a reason why it's, you know, traditionally been limited to 1 in the game of Yu-Gi-Oh! Because, you know, being able to play 37 cards, it's a little bit different of a trade-off, you know? I saw, what was it, DZ made a video on Jar of Greed the other day. It was like, why won't people ever play Jar of Greed? Now, you know, the reason why people won't play Jar of Greed, I don't know how that man got 10 minutes out of that, but people won't play Jar of Greed because it's something called a trap card. And you know why trap cards are bad? Because you gotta fucking set them one goddamn turn. You know, that's why people are fucking losing their shit over shit like evenly matched and what this new Metaphys and Metaphys, whatever the fuck has Cyber Dragon Infinity morphing on it. Trap card, you know, hand traps. The new age. So, when you're going into deck building and analyzation, understand that Upstart Goblin has a dual-sided theory amongst it. The fact that it is acting as an additional card, I mean, giving that your opponent 1,000 life points is fine. That's why you don't play Upstart Goblin in OTK decks, that you gotta kill your opponent only on 8,000. If you can do it at 9,000, that's fine, but you gotta stay a little bit further away from the borderline. Well, fuck, shouldn't give my opponent that 1,000. 1,000 was a really interesting design that they put on the card. I definitely like what they did when they started with Upstart Goblin, 1,000, but I mean, it's also a card from back in, what, the day of Magic Ruler. So, Exodia, you would have been proud. So, it's fine the way it is right now. I just wish players would understand, like, the dual utilities of cards like this and, like, the application of side decking. Side decking, I actually kind of want to talk about side decking. Side decking is this big mystical unicorn in the room that, like, no fucking Yu-Gi-Oh player seems to understand unless you've played the game forever. It's like, oh my god, I get 15 cards I can switch out with my deck? Let's throw everything in there that I don't want in my main deck. Alright, so you're going to throw shit on top of shit into shit already. Like, that's not a good idea. The side deck is meant to be an option to bring in cards to help out your worst matchups. You know, those really terrible matchups that you just don't want to deal with. Why is this guy up here from Texas? Dude, it's Indiana. Like, get out of my state. You don't belong up here. So, side deck is this big, mystical beast that only real people tend to understand. Fucking... does that make sense? I don't know. Like, if I'm building a deck and I'm like, ah, fuck it. Like, I don't want to include my third copy of Dark Magician in my Dark Magician deck. Let's put it in my side deck. Wrong. It's not what you do. Unless A, you lost a bet, and B, you're incredibly bad at this game and don't want to play 3 Dark Magician in your Dark Magician deck. Enjoy resolving your navigations. But maybe something would be like, I guess we'll use Regeki, for example. Cool. Meta says you don't want to play Regeki at the moment, so you board out, or you leave Regeki in your side for the matchups you need it. It's pretty straightforward. Food time, food time.
He'll be right with you.
Okay. Oh, he'll be right with me. Oh, I wonder what we're getting today. Oh, dude. I don't know. Double cheeseburger sounds kind of good. Baconator sounds phenomenal. You already know. If it's not fat, it's got to go. Thank you, Drill. You gave me beautiful commentary over the years. Do. Oh. I really want to talk about the side deck, though. God, that took like 100 years, so we're just going to cut that part out for ordering food. Alright, so we're going to use a scenario here to best describe your 15-card side deck and the applications in which I personally feel you should be using it. Okay, so you're getting ready to go to your regional. You're, we'll say that Lightsworn is the top deck in the metagame. No, Lightsworn seems like a terrible choice. We'll go with... What do I want? What do I want? We're going to say that Blue Eyes is the top deck at your regional, alright? So, and then you've got Chainburn on the side. So, Blue Eyes, typically, you're going to want large monsters, or we'll go with board wipes. Board wipes are going to be typically your one thing you're going to want. So if you're not already main decking Darkhold and Raigeki for these matchups, then you're going to need to definitely have them in the side deck. But if you're going to main deck them, you're going to need things that can answer large monsters and things like that. You also need to, when you're building your side deck, ask yourself the question of, if I'm main decking Solemn Strikes and Warnings, and I'm going second, should I be siding these things out for cards that can handle larger monsters? Now, if I'm going first, and hand traps are going to be a phenomenal thing for this. Ghost Reapers to reveal Azure Eyes, White Dragon to kill them or take them from your opponent. Cards that will generally prevent your opponent from engaging in what they do. You hold the Ash Blossoms for the melodies. Or you might want to consider just making Blue Eyes go first, because Blue Eyes hilariously loses going first. You don't know how many times I've watched them go first, activate Melody, and get Ash Blossomed, and proceed to just scoop that shit up because they can't do anything about it. Things like that you need to consider. Now, for your burn matchup, you're probably going to want 6 cards to handle burn, whether or not they be Hanawata or things like that. So you're going to need to make sure that you are setting out things. If you've got Psalms in the main deck, Psalms are going to be the cards that you're going to go to as your quote-unquote go-to side deck out cards. You know, side decking is this thing that a lot of people, they're like, well, what do I side out? You side out cards that do not benefit your matchups. And a lot of people have been talking about, you know, analyzing what your cards do going first as opposed to going second and so forth. And a lot of people, they don't understand that, man. I can't really tell you the value of your level leader going first, But I could tell you that, well, Love Leader's a combo piece, so it is pretty integral to the turn 1 combo. But I can also tell you that Dark Hole Raigeki going first aren't good, but Solemn Warning and Strike are fucking really good. You see, like, the value in those cards, but Raigeki Dark Hole gain value if you survive to turn 3 to board wipe. But there's no immediate value in turn 1 for them unless you set them to, like, Beta Cosmic Cyclone or something like that. So you see where the value in this gets, like, citing cards appropriately for these matchups. Or, you know, like, if you're playing in a game and you see that, like, things are going past, like, turn 4 and 5, and you want to keep board wipes in, that's fine, you know. It's all within the realm of your expectation. And the issue is, like, side decking is one of the most experienced parts of this game. And I don't know if the scenario went in depth with, like, what you need to understand, what questions you need to be asking yourself for these things. Like, I know a lot of people just ask yourselves, well, why isn't there a guide for each format where I can pick what I need to side deck? Just go look at any ARG, any regional deck video ever. You'll get your answers, but you just need to understand why they're citing those cards. Same thing like Chaos Hunter for Trick Stars, you know, other hand traps for formats. You got to understand what your big matchup is. Like, if you're going into an event playing a tier 1 deck and you're afraid of losing to tier 3, well, you know, the odds of you playing that tier 3 deck beyond round 1 and round 2, as long as you won, are extremely low. So I wouldn't worry about that matchup. A lot of people, they really worry about their worst matchups, and there's not really a lot you can do about them. So, like how an Upstart Goblin discussion turned on into a side deck discussion theory. But, you know, people need to hear this stuff. Definitely makes the game of Yu-Gi-Oh! A lot more interesting. So what do you guys think about side decking? Upstart Goblin being used as another card that ties into side decking as a card that you can board out. A lot of interesting theory with these things, but a lot of people really wish to understand them. That's all I've got for this. Leave your questions down below. I'll try to answer them where I can. And that's all I got, guys. Later.